everyone, my name is Chloe, and last week I did a video about my best and worst reads of 2022. I talked about my 5 stars and my DNFs, and it really was more of a discussion on my rating system and how I don't give a lot of 5 stars and I don't DNF that often. So this video is going to be the books that I feel like I should have 5-starred and the books that I probably should have DNF'd. And so the books that I should have 5-starred are the ones that I gave 4.5 stars mostly, that now looking back on my reading year and remembering these books, I still remember a lot about them. They still were really impactful to me, and looking back, they are definitely favorites. And so I'm going to tell you these books that I should have 5-starred that I did not talk about that are truly probably 5-star reads, but they're 5-star reads upon reflection. I didn't necessarily give them a 5-star right away, but I'm so stingy. I'm going to try to get better about just like recognizing a 5-star for what it is. So let's get into it. So the first one is A Mother's Goodbye by Kate Hewitt. This is one that I read physically, and I remember like wanting to do nothing but read. It is about a mother who, she has 4 kids or something. Her husband is disabled and unable to work. He also just doesn't have a lot of ambition. And so she is the sole breadwinner for the family. She's got 4 kids. They're teenagers. They're all across the board, and she finds herself pregnant, and she is like, we cannot handle another kid. So she has to go through the process internally of deciding to give that baby up for adoption. And then once that happens, she picks a birth or an adoptive mother. And it's the story of the 2 women throughout many, many years. And it is so good, so emotional, says a lot about motherhood and just the internal debates we have about what's right for our babies and our kids. And I really liked both of the women. It was very, very good. So 5 stars is what that's getting. Next is The Unplanned Life of Josie Hale by Stephanie Eating. So you guys are probably sick of hearing me talk about this because it is like one of my favorite kind of chick lit books that I've read in a long time. And it is about this woman who, her and her husband are having a rough time. They are about to divorce, and then they decide like, hey, let's try to make this work one more time. They have a night together, and she winds up pregnant. The next night, he's with somebody else. So she's like, okay, that didn't work. So they split up, and she finds out she's pregnant. And so now she's single, pregnant, living with her parents. It's like a late 20s, early 30s situation. And so she goes to the county fair because she is really wanting fried food. And I read this book when I was pregnant. And so like I understood their weird, random, like junk food cravings. And so she goes and she runs into 2 guys that she went to high school with. And I love that trope. She has a romance with one of them, but that is kind of minor. You know, I love that trope of like kind of first love, second chance. But it's also like these guys are like, hey, we could use a 3rd roommate. It would help us. It would help you. It would be great. And the found family element of this book is strong. And the way those 2 guys protect her is awesome. And one of them is not a single dad. He shares custody. And so there's a lot of dynamics. And I love that it's like 30-year-olds. You know, I think that is really a fun like age to read about because that's kind of the age I am. So really love that one. Next is Saving Noah by Lucinda Berry. You guys are also probably sick of hearing me talk about this one. This one is a story about, it's marketed as like a thriller, but it's a domestic drama about the mother of a young man who was in a correctional facility because he molested young girls that he was giving swimming lessons to. Now, that is a hard topic. And there are a lot of triggers in this book, so definitely look it up if there are things that you are triggered by, but you don't get a lot of detail about what happened. You don't, like, there's no description of that. And what you're dealing with is, as this boy is coming out of the correctional facility, the mother trying to reconcile, how is this guy who did such a monstrous, horrible thing also my baby? And like, how do I support my child? And also you get internal thoughts of this boy. It's mostly from the mother's perspective, but you get internal thoughts of this boy, and you almost start to empathize with him, which is then like a really mind-blowing experience because you're like, no, he did these terrible things, you know. So it's really good. I really enjoyed it. And that one left me in pain. Like, it left my mama heart broken and not sure what I would do in the situation. Next is These Things Hidden by Heather Gudenkauf. So this is a multi-layer story about sisters. One sister is kind of a golden girl and the other one is kind of living in her shadow. And then as like a senior in high school, she does something wrong and she gets put in jail for 5 years and now she's being released. And there's just a lot of dynamics. It's told from 3 or 4 women's perspectives and how they're all connected makes sense and is good. And I love Heather Gudenkauf, and this one was definitely really good. Next is The Arrangement by Robyn Harding. So this is a trilogy that I almost wish was just a single book. I definitely liked the first one better than the second or third by a long shot. And this is about a husband and wife. It is a thriller about a husband and wife who have this arrangement that one night a week they both can go date other people. No strings attached, no conversations to be had. Like, they just have this arrangement. And things get sinister and it doesn't work out, as you may guess, and I just really enjoyed it. It is a short thriller, as Kiersten Modglin, I might have said the wrong author, but as she always does, Kiersten Modglin always has short thrillers. Some have been hits for me, some have been misses, but this one was good. And the second and third do kind of like diminish my love for the first, but it also is like more to the story, so read on if you want to. I'm actually curious. If you have read on, what are your thoughts on the second and third? Next is First to Die by James Patterson. So this is the first in his Women's Murder Club series, and it's about 4 different women who all have different jobs revolving around homicide, murders, and that kind of stuff. One is like a district attorney, one is a medical examiner, one is one's a cop, like an investigator, and I can't remember what the fourth is, but they all are not friends at the beginning, but they kind of become friends. And I really liked the like feminist vibe, as well as the murder mystery, as well as the James Patterson short chapters. Love that style. I don't know why more authors don't do it. And I have yet to finish or read on in the series at all, because I liked it so much that like I don't want subsequent books to ruin it, and I also don't want it to be over. So let me know if you've read more. Do they stay as good? Is it kind of just like I think it's really the concept that I loved, and I think that will diminish, but I don't know. Is it still as good? Next is The Measure by Nikki Erlich, and this one is a dystopian that like I still think about. And it is like, so the premise of it is that everybody one day gets a box on their front porch, and it has a string in it, and that the length of the string is the length of your life. So some people are short stringers and some are long stringers, and it is just a conversation around what you would do. Would you open your box? Would you not? And if you did, what would you do with that information? Would you share it? Would you not? Like as somebody's child, would you tell your parents? Would you what would be your choice as far as reproductive rights? I think it's 22 or something that you get your string. So if you were below 22 or whatever the age is at the time of like this big boxing, then you get your string on your 22nd birthday or whatever date, whatever birthday it is. And so it's interesting. And then it talks a little bit globally about like how different governments address this and how governmental policies change knowing the length of your life. And it also is an interesting like chicken and egg discussion. Do you act differently because you know the length of your string, or what? Like there's just so much to think about and talk about and ponder. And like the reason this didn't get 5-star initially is because it was almost like too much. Like I was having bad dreams about it and like about being a short stringer. And so definitely like take that into consideration, but it was so good. And like rarely do I get a book that makes me think that much. So I think it deserves a 5-star. And last I would say is Summerland by Ellen Hildebrand. So this I gave 4.5 stars, and I did read this. I think it was my last book of the year. I think I started the year and ended the year with Ellen Hildebrand, which is just ironic. Not intentional, but this is about a group of high school kids that they're in a wreck. There's a group of high school kids that are in a wreck. There's 2 twins. One is badly injured. One is killed. and we're figuring out why, like what all happened. And so it's not YA because it is told from a lot of perspectives, like the parents and the whole, it's told on Nantucket, as most of Ellen Hilbrand's books are, and the whole community of like people who live on Nantucket year round. I don't know if it's actually a small community, but it really feels like a small community. And so everybody kind of knows everybody, and there's a lot of perspectives and a lot of like relationships to discuss and to explore in this book. And that's one of the things I love, is like multiple relationships to explore, I guess, and seeing how they all connect and why. And I thought it was really interesting. So I think it deserves to be bumped up. So next, I'm going to talk about the books that I should have DNF'd. And I really don't like to talk about negative content, and most of the reason that I'm even sharing these books is just to show you and really myself like how many books that I kind of wasted my time on for me, and to help refine my my taste. Like I need to figure out why I read so many books that I don't like. Why am I reading these books, and like what can I learn about myself so I don't do that next time. So I'm not going to talk a lot about these books because there's a lot of them. I'm going to talk about every book that I gave 1, 2, or 2.5 stars, because those all mean I didn't really enjoy them. And the reason I don't DNF more, if you guys did not see that video, is just because of FOMO. Like because I'm afraid that something will happen and it'll shift into this really great book. But let's just go to it. So Forget Me Not by QB Tyler. I really didn't like this book, but the reason I read it is because I buddy read it with Morgan from Nothing Better Than a Book. So I loved that experience, but neither of us liked it at all. And we should have DNF'd it and just picked a different book. Next is Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead. I know I'm a minority about this, but it was way too long, just too literary for me. And again, all of these books, if they're your favorites, I'm really sorry. These are just my personal opinion, and that's what I love about books, is that you can love something and I cannot, and vice versa. You may not like any of the things that I just talked about 5-starring. So Lead Me Not by A. Meredith Walters. Always in December by Emily Stone. And I like Emily Stone premises and covers always make me want to read them. And I think I'm just not gonna. I think that's one thing I've learned. The House Sitter by Ellery Kane. To Keep You Safe by Kate Bradley. The Other People by C.J. Tudor. Yikes. The Year of the Baby by Andrea Cheng. Boy Meets Girl by Meg Cabot. This is the second in a series, and the first was fine. Second and third were terrible, and I read them both, and I should not have, but they were on my shelf, and so I wanted to read them to get them off. And I have a much harder time DNFing books that I physically own than just books that I decide to pick up for something else, and I need to get better about that. Next is Sunrise Point by Robyn Carr. This is number 17 or something in one of her series. And yeah, I didn't like it. Life's Messy, Live Happy by Cy Wakeman. Monsters, A Love Story by Liz Kay. Play It Again by Holly Schindler. This is the second in a duology, and I liked the first, and then the second just kind of ruined it for me, and I hate when that happens. Next is Tell Me the Truth by Kiersten Modglin. So ironic that she's on both lists. The Blame Game by Sandie Jones. Where'd You Go, Bernadette by Maria Semple. The Air He Breathes by Brittainy C. Cherry. I love Brittainy C. Cherry. Hated this book. Next is Cheat Day by Liv Stratmann. There's some of the Babysitter's Club Little Sisters books that make an appearance on this, and I'm kind of debating. We're on book, 18, 19, and I'm kind of debating calling it for the series. Next is Bookish People by Susan Coll. The Witches of Brooklyn by Sophie Escabasse. Most of these I've been influenced by other people, and I need to just know better of, maybe I'll do like a booktuber recommends and see whose taste I read like, because some of these are like repeats of people that I watch on booktube that I just need to realize our tastes don't line up. Next is the Penderwicks, which I know is really, really, really unpopular. I didn't like it. Yikes. And then the other in that Meg Cabot, Every Boy's Got One. The Girls in the Garden by Lisa Jewell, and The Christmas Bookshop by Jenny Colgan, which has the cutest cover, and I read it for book club. Didn't like it. So those are the books that I should have probably DNF'd. Some of the 2.5 stars I'm glad I read, I guess. A lot of those I had reasons for reading them, and so it's hard to DNF, but yeah. That is that. So to end on a bummer note, but let me know if you've read any of these books, and let me know, like, I don't vehemently hate any of these books. I think there's definitely an audience for all of them. It's just not me. So maybe this book will help, or this video will help kind of you to know my opinion versus yours. If it's too literary, if it's too, I don't know. I don't know what it was. I don't know. So let me know. Did you like the same books I liked? Dislike the same books I disliked? Do we overlap? I don't know. Or do we not? Because I watch so many creators that I know my tastes do not align with theirs, and yet I love their content and can't stop watching it. So really interesting. Good discussion. So let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.